Hello and welcome. Delhi NCR's luxury housing market is rewriting price records. Over the past few years, we've seen Gurgaon witness multiple residential transactions exceeding 100 CR, a milestone once associated almost exclusively with Mumbai. The Millennium City is rapidly establishing as one of India's most sought after destinations for ultra high net worth home buyers. Today, we'll be examining the forces driving Delhi NCR's ultra luxury housing boom, whether the region is closing the gap with Mumbai's super prime residential market, and if it has the potential to eventually rival global luxury real estate destinations such as New York, London, and Singapore. Over to you, Akash. My first question has got to do with the fact whether these 100 crore deals have now become the norm for Delhi NCR.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on this panel. First, it was very interesting. I was just reading this Knight Frank report, which is a recent report, which says that by 2027, India will have about 330 billionaires and about 1.2 million millionaires.
Correct.
So, where are they going to spend their money? So, the idea is that, if you are talking about the 100 crore norm, let me put it this way, that how this works is that at one point in time, I remember when we were growing up, a property in the early crores used to be, how it was and how it was perceived and values given. And as things kind of move on in life and as wealth is grown for everybody, there are inflationary trends, there are other factors that drive these homes, and they are just not brick and mortar stories. So, most importantly, everybody needs to understand that there is an ecosystem story, which commands this kind of a price. It's not anybody can't just today get up and say, I'm going to sell a 100 crore home. People are wise, people are, they understand the value of money. But what is attributable to the 100 crores is what everybody needs to understand. It's every other facility that are attached to these homes that actually create that value. Where in India today are we talking about green lungs? Where in India today are we talking about sustainable development? So these things with luxury actually add up to the thing. And then when you actually commit yourselves to making these large-scale infra developments, that's when there are certain allocated costs to it. So today you want to live in a home, but you also want to have, with a click of a button, a facility that gives you really everything at your beck and call. How much money will you put for that? How much money will you put for your safety, your security, for creating phenomenal green spaces? And most importantly, how are you going to sustain all of this? So, therefore, the 100 crore homes, and once people understand this larger concept, which thankfully they are, then next time you'll be talking about 500 crore homes like this.
So are we ready for that as well?
We are ready for everything as long as there's a sustainable development. As the CREDAI Secretary just mentioned about the NGT bans and other issues. So I feel that everybody needs to be fully committed to these. And if you look at any global brand, there are ESG scores in companies today without which investments don't come into the country. And so all global brands, all luxury global brands, not real estate, but any other brand, if you look at it, they go back to source, they go back to sourcing, they go back to defining their commitment to the environment. And in fact, there's a much larger story.
So it's the social capital that you're basically talking about.
Well, as I said, DLF has worked very hard to create, let's say, if I can make that statement, the Beverly Hills of India. And I think it's a fully made in India program, where anywhere in the world today you go, these properties, especially the Camellias, defines the real estate story of India. And it's a proud moment for any Indian because you are looking at creating one of the benchmark properties. So every country in the world is boasts about their real estate. You talk about Dubai, Burj, you talk about America, they talk about Central Park, and London is Hyde Park. Everybody is talking about one or two real estate developments that every country actually, and they, are proud to talk about them. Camellias has taken that status for the country and all over the world. It is something that people really fondly talk about, and that India has made something like that. And I think for us as DLF, it's absolutely a privilege to be part of this journey.
So which means that you have managed to have managed to establish an indigenous definition of what ultra luxury should be.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think this is what we started Aralias in 2002. It's 26, so about 24 years now in this journey. And as we've kind of evolved, we've seen that with every project launch, with every new product, you have created a new benchmark and you've really made a completely different concept of luxury, which is, and most importantly, what happens here is that, please understand, your customers who you are doing this for are very discerning. And they're the ones who'll push you. They're the ones who'll tell you what worked previously and what needs to be done going forward. So I think it's a continuous journey, and they push you to do the best too.
Correct. Thanks, Akash. Moving to Chetan. Chetan, what according to you is this indigenous definition of ultra luxury, at least in the Delhi NCR and Mumbai regions?
So, thank you for, first of all, thank you for having me here. And I would largely say that if you talk about 100 crore deals or Gurgaon being that market, NCR has always been that aspirational market. He said 500 crore deal. There have been 1,000 crore deals in Delhi as well. And now Gurgaon will reach there, definitely. That's the benchmark that everyone is hoping for. When it comes to ultra luxury, it's one, you need to look at the project, what is offering to a buyer, and that's definitely, which is in the hindsight, any buyer would when spending X amount of money, would be looking at that, what amount of luxury, what amount of amenities I am getting into. But what we also need to look at is what they are getting in terms of infra attached to it. So how planned the city is. And that's what defines the overall indigenous ultra luxury for a buyer. A standalone project may not, while it may have the best of amenities, but it may still not command the ultra luxury. And that's where the large developers, the tier 1 developers like DLF and all have worked to make it as a sustainable ecosystem for a buyer to survive in. And that's what defines the ultra luxury.
And how is it different from the Mumbai's ultra luxury market?
Mumbai, if you look at, it has its fair share of issues in terms of the planning and so on and so forth. While the way it was looked at earlier and now where the density of population have actually reached, which is kind of impacting the way the aspiration now, people are looking beyond Mumbai. Yes, if we look at the skyscrapers in Mumbai, the value in Mumbai would still be, at some point will still be higher, but that's only a handful of pocket of the projects that we are talking about. Whereas the aspirational value when it comes to the NCR or the Gurgaon side of it is very, very different when we look at now Mumbai. What it used to be the handful of projects, now it has become more than handful of projects, and that's where the differentiation is getting created between Mumbai and Gurgaon, so to say.
Okay. Thanks, Jason. Moving to you, Ankur. Your fund has invested in prime South Delhi neighborhoods, such as Anandi Niketan, Niti Bagh, and Gulmohar Park. Now, what pricing benchmarks have you been able to evolve over the years?
Thank you, HT Media, for having me. Pricing benchmark in micro pockets, in premium markets have, if you see over the course of time, there has been obviously a gap between different micro markets. Every micro market commands a premium. And as compared to, let's say, Gulmohar Park or Anand Niketan, there is always a price difference, which has always been there from the very beginning. That gap from the very beginning, that is, I'm talking 1975s, 80, that has been there even today. The prices have gone up, but the difference in the price stays. So we see this in various micro markets. The price gap that has existed from earlier times stays till date, and I think it will continue further.
Coming to you again, Akash. Now, why are these HNIs willing to pay a significant premium for luxury condos and integrated ecosystems rather than owning, private independent bungalows or farmhouses?
So there's been a perceivable shift over the last, I'd say, 5 years post-COVID, where people were confined to their homes, and I think that was one rude awakening for a lot of people. Firstly, I think they come here for all the facilities, all the privileges to be available to them, something that they're used to. And again, I say, I'm making a distinction here. The DLF super luxury business, every aspect of it, whether it is the hospitality element, so all our staff come from very renowned hotels. Our backup teams come from organizations which train them, and they've kind of done this for a living. So we invest heavily on our people too. And what is important for you to understand is that if you're talking about these set of ultra HNIs, they're used to a certain pattern. There's a certain pandering, there's a certain looking after, there's a certain, I'd say, even to a point where certain directions also given. But what they actually put money on the table for is, obviously, these are large apartments. They can't even call them apartments. They're bungalows stacked up, in the sky. But the overall, the package that comes with it, so whether it's concierge, whether it is, for example, the Camellia Club alone is about 160,000 square feet of a massive clubhouse, which is can be compared to any top 5-star hotel in the country. Now, why was it done? It can be a jury out there. Will it make money? What it actually does is that it panders to every aspiration of these high net worth individuals. Okay. Now, what is luxury? Luxury, if you basically define luxury, is space. I mean, it's like your first class of a plane or your concierge booking or anything else. So it gives you an ample amount of space. It gives you luxury. It gives you services. So that is something that I am seeing a change, a pattern of people who prefer to have services attached to their homes. But I say this word with caution, because everybody likes to emulate. This word of luxury, unfortunately, has been completely messed up with, because anybody and everybody calls themselves luxury. It is for a few, and unapologetically it is for a few. But what happens here is that when you actually put the whole piece together, obviously your core is building, your other facilities are there. Your ecosystem has to speak, and they have to speak to each other. When a customer comes into a dwelling like this, they come in for multiple reasons. They come in for primarily for not having to bother about plumbing issues, and you'll be surprised. I mean, there are people who living in homes have an army of people servicing them. One gentleman who moved in from a farmhouse told me that he has about 40 staff members living there. Okay. And he says, sometimes I feel that I am, literally the cacophony of them kind of takes away my peace, and I'm always at their mercy. Mm-hmm. One gentleman mentioned to me that there was a break-in in one of their bungalows at 2 a.m. that shook them. So everybody's got their own motive. But primarily, what I feel is also it's phenomenal community building. So when you look at the kind of community that we built, everybody calls it a billionaires club, this, that. I call it a reservoir of amazing amount of talent. You know, you can be at whichever stage in life with whatever your net worth is. But when you actually come to communities like the Camellias, Aralias, Magnolias, and now the Dahlias, it's a great leveler. You suddenly are, you know, king of your own world, and you think that, you know, you've done so well and all, and you are introduced to somebody who's like maybe 10 times your size. It's a great leveler. But also it's a fantastic networking opportunity. You look at institutes all over the world, you look at Harvard, you look at golf-related institutes, they all thrive on networking. And here is a community where actually if you're working out on your treadmill, your neighbor can be this, I mean, the guy who's working out with you, maybe a 28-year-old founder whose valuation is 2 billion.
Correct.
And you've kind of 3 generations of business, you've kind of just about reached 2 billion. You know, so it's a good, so a lot of people are actually doing that for community. Kids, it's fantastic. It's a great, healthy environment for them. They want to bring them up like that. So as I said to you again, it's a complete package. It can't be looked in isolation.
Right. Chetan, coming to you, are these investors slash buyers, are they motivated primarily by, say, capital appreciation, social capital, wealth preservation, or lifestyle enhancement?
So I would say there will always be segmentation of buyers in the market. You can't deny that if someone is buying and they are only looking at capital gains or an investment opportunity to buy something and then trade it in the resale market, and there is a healthy population because people have seen that upside nowadays. And you talked about founders. There are people who have encashed their employee stock option and they have ample wealth. And what better way to invest other than real estate? And they can get the encash that in the times to come. But I would say that's only still a handful of people. If you look at the current market that the Gurgaon or the NCR is living in, we will have majority of the people who are actually end consumers. And that's where you will always see that the developer community is very, very committed to ensure on the timing, delivery and everything, because this is something which is dependent on the end consumer side of it. And that's what is driving luxury. That's what is driving the demand. If it's always been the investor, there will always be a pent-up demand that you will have something and then it will suddenly die down because there are no buyers in the market to have those resale looking at. But a continuous demand, a healthy market that we have been seeing over the course of last few years, it's actually being driven by the end consumer. And who are looking not only from a luxury ecosystem standpoint, they are looking at an overall community standpoint. He very well put together that we can't put together or we can't pinpoint that this is a particular statement of luxury that someone is looking at. They are looking at a wholesome package of multiple amenities, the community that is coming along with it. That's what driving the market and that's what driving the luxury.
Okay. Ankur, one question for you. We've talked about an ecosystem, a social ecosystem that people are wanting to buy into. Now, what is propelling buyers to invest in South Delhi bungalows?
Okay. So I think real estate is very closely associated to supply and demand, the scarcity in the market. Now, Delhi is a landlocked region. Every real estate market is a landlocked region. South Delhi for that matter, or if you look at Bombay for that matter, the premium luxury is defined by scarcity all over the world. You look at London, you look at Singapore, you look at any major metropolitan, that is defined by the scarcity. South Delhi is one such market. We know that the land will not be available. We know what is available today at X price will not be available tomorrow at that same price. This is the 4 points that you just mentioned, the capital preservation, the appreciation, lifestyle, and you mentioned one more point. So these 4 points are actually what are propelling people to invest in South Delhi. Again, one major factor to real estate is the proximity to the work. And people
Yes,
don't want to
same for Gurgaon as well.
yeah. Same for every market. There's a buyer for everything. There is a buyer for high rise. There's a buyer for flat. There's a buyer for premium land in Aurangzeb Road. There is a buyer for everything. So South Delhi, the main reason why people are buying here is because of the scarcity.
Akash, coming to you, 5 years from now, do you see Delhi NCR commanding luxury prices which are comparable to global cities like London, Singapore, Dubai, or New York? I mean, do you see that's where Gurgaon is headed going forward?
Well, that's a very tall statement to make, but also I think I would feel that organizations like CREDAI and the government and all of us have to work together to first create a sustainable urban infrastructure. For us to honestly compare apple to apple, we can compare ourselves and talk about Singapore, America, London, Dubai. But look at the kind of infrastructure that supports these cities. I'm not saying that they don't have traffic jams, but then there is a plan, to do a lot of things. And I think, honestly, that question we should park for some time and look at certain things that need to be corrected. But since you asked a question, I'll give you, let's say the Dahlia's turnover today is about $4 billion US. Now, the only benchmark project in the world that comes close to Dahlia's turnover is Central Park Towers in America, which is $4 billion, which is in Manhattan. So, if you ask me, have we reached a certain benchmark? Very proudly, as I say, as an Indian, we've reached a certain benchmark to compare ourselves with a project which is, which boasts of a certain turnover, where it is one of the most expensive real estates of the world, in New York, in Central Park. And to be compared or to have a price turnover of that equivalent value is something which is honestly commendable. But I'd like to leave it there because, yes, the aspiration is to compare yourselves with the best in the world, and we must, and that is how we're going to get better. But there's a lot of work to do.
And we will soon be reaching the 500 CR price point, is what you're suggesting. Yeah, very soon. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us.